Well, okay. Here we are, we're back. And, yeah. So for this, I just want to make a little video. This is more for myself than anyone else, but you can feel free to listen. Yesterday I played Conker's Bad Fur Day, and I just wanted to get my thoughts on it just real quickly here. Overall, don't know how I feel about it. I think it is a gorgeous game. Definitely. And the story is weird and freaky and in all the right ways. It doesn't match my personal taste, but, you know, it does its thing. I think, though, Conker got kind of messed up in development, where originally they were going for that 3D platformer feel, but then they decided to change their mind and instead make fun of 3D platformers and made just the game a crude humor joke full of like references and stuff. So, like there is not a 3D platformer. Anyone who says it is like delusional, I think. Like technically it is, because look, he's jumping. Oh, yeah, he jumps. It's a 3D platformer. There's platforms. But, you know, I was watching development or commentary on this, and they said this is like the hardest challenge in the game. Like the hardest like jumping challenge. And they put this here specifically because they wanted to make fun of tutorial levels. And they wanted to make something that would teach you skills you never needed. Which, as a game designer, I don't know how I feel about that. Sure, this whole game is about making fun of the 3D platformer genre, but I don't know if that's really in their best interest at the time, because like had things not happened the way it did, they probably would still be making those 3D platformers in the next generation. So I don't know why they want to make fun of it that bad instead of try to actually improve the game design and the critiques on Banjo-Tooie and Donkey Kong 64. I know it's a different team that made this, though, so maybe that's what they were. Maybe that's why they went in a different direction. I don't know. I mean, another thing that gets me is that it took me. Okay, so like here it's 10 minutes. It took me 20 minutes to get from this part to where I finished this tutorial section. You know, full of like falling and dying, or not dying, but just falling into this water over and over again. And ugh, just amazing. Amazing how awful that is. You know, one thing I like is whenever he gets in the water, he has those floaties. I think that's really interesting because later in the game they take the floaties off so that he can swim underwater. So I think that's good. Like, I guess, artistic gameplay cohesion. So if we start from the first minute we get to gameplay, he's an alcoholic, he's drunk, he's hungover, disgusting. And, you know, I like this part. It's slow. It'd probably be annoying to replay, but it doesn't last too long. And, you know, the developers actually said it themselves. If someone's not willing to sit through this, you know, it's their own fault. I agree, because it actually makes it even more lively whenever you do get his control. It's more like, ooh, it feels so fun. Another thing is these like bees on the ground. What do they call it? The context. What do they call it? Context sensitive. It's such a joke. What they're making fun of is the fact that like these 3D platformers give you random abilities to do stuff. So they said, why not just, we can put a random ability where we need it and it'll just do things. So it's fun, you know, for sure. Like it makes sense. Like the theme of the game is certainly to subvert audience expectations and have this like crudeness to it, and really like make fun of the genre, I think. And they definitely do it well. Um, but I think the context sensitive buttons are bad for gameplay. First of all, this tutorial is completely unnecessary. And I think they make fun of the fact, or I think the tutorial's only here because they're making fun of mandatory tutorials. Because obviously there's this huge bee on the ground. You don't need a tutorial to explain what to do here. So it's kind of silly. But then you like run into later things in the game where is it? It's probably right before I quit. Like here you're throwing toilet paper into this guy's mouth. But I guess you've done the slingshot before. But inside of a boss where timing is so critical, it's weird that they have this like section here full of a mechanic that you've never used before. It's not good game design. Like, I'm not saying the game's not fun, because just this boss I like. I like the boss a lot. But it's mostly because of the context around it. He's a singing pile of poop. How can you not like that? Unless you're, a little bit not in that kind of stuff. But just the environment here is so unique. It's a musical thing with the with a ball of poop guiding the song. It's insane. Okay. And that's why I like this. But the actual like mechanic of the boss itself, like throwing toilet paper at it is a good idea, and that's why it works. But they never trained you for this in the game. Luckily, it's not too hard. The only time they trained you for something like this is, I don't know, sometime around here. Here where you get this slingshot. I think it's probably the same mechanic exactly, but the slingshot here is already just awful. Look how many times I miss, because it doesn't seem to point the right way. You got to figure out where it goes. There's no crosshair. I don't know why they couldn't have just added a crosshair or make it really explicit where it's going to end up. Like, they didn't need a crosshair. They could just put it right between the things, I think. Or make it like line up somehow. I don't know how you're supposed to determine it now. The toilet paper is even worse. But, like, I guess you could say this is the practice for the toilet paper thing. But I don't think so. Because first of all, this is already, like, I'm surprised I didn't get hit here. This is already too much difficulty for this type of thing. Like, you never used this mechanic before, and now all of a sudden these things are going to fly at you and hurt you. Like, it's tough. Like, compared to like this thing, I like more. I mean, I died, but I thought that was a fair death. Like here, I'm trying to run with it. As long as you just run in the right direction and you don't like go over these leaves or something, you're going to be fine. I think that's actually a decent challenge, and they combine this later with they do the same thing later in this challenge where you're holding the corn and, so you can't jump, but now you have to like time it with these. It's the same thing as the other one, except for now you can't just run. Now you have to time it a little bit better. So, that's good like challenge progression. What's not great about this particular one is that you have to do it 3 times and it's the same thing each time. It's just annoying. But anyway, I don't want to go too far yet. Okay, so you do your context switching, you get his abilities, then you start going over here. Okay, so the platforming. Why is this so hard? Because you can't see depth. That's exactly why. They're, I don't know if they intentionally didn't include a drop-down shadow. Like most 3D platformers, what you see is a shadow beneath him. Here, there's a shadow, but if you notice, whenever I jump, the shadow's not directly beneath him. It's based on the lighting in the room. And here, in this room, maybe it's fine. Or it's not too fine. It definitely changes based on the lighting. Or the lighting. But the reason why we have those drop-down shadows, it used to be because it was hard to do any type of shadow. I wonder if Mario actually thought, oh, you know what, the shadow is a good way to put people in place, or if they just said it's easy. I imagine Nintendo was smart enough to think the shadow is a good way to show your place on the plane itself. But yeah, you can definitely tell because Ukulele, I think, didn't have one. And it made the game really hard to judge distance. And this is the same way it looks like. But luckily it's not a platformer, so you can get by without it in most cases. But yeah, I don't like this section. It really annoyed me. Although the Xbox remake is better because it pops you up. It doesn't, it's a little bit more forgiving. I wish I would have played that version, even if it has like the less cuss words and stuff. But unfortunately, in Rare Replay, they only included this. What else do I want to talk about? I don't know. The section I loved was the poop section. Like, I think it's just genius. It absolutely is. Game design wise, it's not, but thematic wise, like that's what this game is all about. It's all about nailing its theme, which it does very well. Subverting player expectations, delivering them crude humor in situations, and really making fun of the genre. It does that very well. And this is actually another complicated, it's not platforming per se. It's kind of something you see in a platformer, but again, it's really awkward. But I just love the poop because of the thematic element to it. Before I got to it, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a poop level in a game? And sure enough, here it is. You have to deal with rolling poo. This is a platforming area. Maybe I was a little bit misjudging it by saying it's not a platform. It is a platform. It's just by this time in 3D platformer history, they're already starting to get too minigame focused. And this game is just full of minigames, it seems. That has nothing to do with platforming. Like the bowl section. Like, I think this is very clever. It's nasty, but it's clever. This would never fly in a modern game. I don't really like killing the cows, considering I'm making a game about rescuing animals. But, you know, this section, I still like it. I talked about this game to a few people already, and I'm like, this is the section I brought up. You're fighting, you're trying to get this cow to poop, and so the way you do it is by jumping on this, or by getting prune juice down, jumping on a bull, and pushing him into, and riding him into the cow, which eventually just blows up the cow. It's just crazy. It's so nonsensical. It's just insane. Then I love how after this you swim in the poop, and he takes off his, little training swimming things, and now all of a sudden what's going on? He's learning to swim. Good thing. I also like rolling up the ball of poop. It's kind of silly. But it's silly, it's fun, One thing I want to talk about is, actually this is one of the main things I want to praise about it. It's world design. First of all, it's level design. Because it's not too like focused on challenge or whatever, or they don't seem to care. They have a good like sense of progression. Like if you were gonna make this this is an open world 3D platformer as much as you can get. It's not disjointed like Banjo-Kazooie or Mario 64, where each level's in a different world. Like here, it's hard to actually tell the difference between a level or a different stage. I guess a different chapter. Which I love that. Another thing is where I'm at in the game right now. There's 3 different quests that I know of that I could be doing right now, but I chose this one because I like poop, I guess. But yeah, I think it's nice that you have these options and they don't matter much. You can do whichever order you want. It's a good thing. Another thing about it is it makes the world feel more real, just because it's all connected like that. Comparing that to like Spyro's portals or Banjo's puzzle entrances and stuff. Like, how do those places even make sense? They're just like in some witch's thing. I don't know. But it works well, I think. And I'm especially impressed they were able to do it so well on this N64. But yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say about it. Will I continue playing it? Probably not. Because I find it kind of frustrating. Am I interested in it? Yes. Like, I'm interested in the story. I love the concept of the story. Like, he's trying to find a squirrel to fit into his table. It's a genius concept. I'm curious to see, with a game that's this violent and graphic and stuff, I'm curious to see how they like extend the story further. I probably will watch all the scenes. But with that, I'm just going to call it quits for this video because it's 4:20. No, that's not why. My camera's been fuzzy. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about Conker. Unfortunately, it's not what I was expecting. I was hoping for a collectathon. It's not a collectathon. It's just a collection of mini games wrapped inside of something that used to be a 3D platformer and full of really good jokes and crude humor and stuff. Okay, so peace out. Enjoy Hawaiian Shirt Friday.